Alternate has an article out on the 7 big lies involved in Chris Kyle's movie, the movie about Chris Kyle, I should say.
Today on Arcean, a cuck gets owned by his own stupidity.
American Sniper. Now, he's of course considered America's deadliest sniper with 160 confirmed kills and 255 probable kills. But I want to go ahead and lay this all out for you so you see some of the issues with the movie and also just the issues with him as a person and his credibility as a person. And to be clear here, I'm giving you specifically what the article says. I'll add my own little thing at the end of it here, but let me lay out their argument. They say, first of all, quote, the movie cuts from Kyle watching footage of 9/11 to him serving in Iraq. And the big problem with that is...
Oh, that's very interesting that you brought that up, Kyle. You want to know why? Kyle? One simple reason. It doesn't do that. It cuts from him seeing 9/11 to being in bed with who was going to play his wife, and then all of a sudden to his wedding. And then it cuts to him going overseas to Fallujah. And guess what's happening there? The Iraqi government, which you were about to say are the people that are fighting, is already gone. It's way after the Gulf War. Here's the thing. They're not talking... You're gonna try to make it sound like the movie is trying to describe Kyle fighting against Saddam Hussein. They're not. They're not fighting the Ba'ath Party. They're fighting the insurgency of Mujahideen in the area. But, let's let your cuckery just speak for itself, because, you really are a disgusting young Turk slime ball. You know that?
Of course, they're implying that there's some link between the two. When anybody who follows the news closely and who understands the situation well, it's understood that Iraq was we invaded the wrong place. The argument first was, well, Saddam Hussein was responsible for 9/11. It turns out, that's wrong. Of course, it was Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. They said, no, Saddam Hussein was close with Al-Qaeda. That's also wrong. Anybody who knows anything about Iraq knows that Saddam Hussein is a Ba'athist, essentially a secular dictator.
What I tell you, folks, he's going to try to connect the two, even though they're unrelated. The Gulf War was separate from the War on Terror, and that's what we were talking about.
The Ba'ath Party was a secular party, and he actively was the enemy of Al-Qaeda and any jihadists and extremists in that regard. Not saying he's a good guy, but there certainly was no connection, and he certainly didn't attack us. So, you think maybe that would be important if you say at the beginning of the movie, as they did, they made clear, this is based on a true story. This is all true events. Okay, well then maybe you should highlight the reality that Iraq was the wrong war. It also was a violation of international law. So to portray the whole thing as a hero, talking about a hero here, when the war... They say number 2, quote, Kyle's primary antagonist in the film is a sniper named Mustafa. Mustafa...
Wrong again. They're hunting Zarqawi, which is bin Laden's right-hand man, by trying to look for a guy named the Butcher, his enforcer. That's his main target throughout the entire movie. But they didn't read the movie or watch the book, and nor did you, Kyle. So how will you go ahead and learn your place?
Is mentioned in a single paragraph in Kyle's book, but the movie blows him up into an ever-present figure and Syrian Olympic medal winner, and this is the amazing part, who fights for both Sunni insurgents in Fallujah and the Shia Mahdi army.
That's because he was a mercenary. He didn't have a side. That's how mercenaries work. That's what the movie described him as.
Okay, any expert on the Middle East is fucking facepalming right now. How can you can't do that in the movie. If you're gonna say it's based on a true story, you can't have this main guy who wasn't really a big part of his life be a big part of his life and be the counter guy, and also make him both part of Sunni militias and Shia militias. They were fighting each other. We were in the middle of a civil war in Iraq at one point. It was the Sunnis versus the Shias. So it just shows you that they played loose with the facts. And they played loose with the facts in many ways. The third thing, quote, multiple scenes in the movie portray Kyle as haunted by his service, to try to humanize him, of course. One of the film's earliest reviews praised it for showing the, quote, emotional torment of so many military men and women. But that torment is completely absent from the book the film is based on. In the book, Kyle refers to everyone he fought as savage, despicable, and evil. He writes, quote, "I only wish I had killed more." He also writes, quote, "I loved what I did. I still do. If circumstances were different, if my family didn't need me, I'd be back in a heartbeat. I'm not lying or exaggerating to say it was fun. I had the time of my life being a SEAL."
All right, let's be very clear about this. He should have had a great time. Why wouldn't he? After all, there are people like the Butcher he was hunting. The Butcher was the enforcer for Zarqawi, who protected bin Laden. He would drill holes into the heads of children who would speak out against bin Laden.
On an appearance with Conan O'Brien on his show, he laughs about accidentally shooting an Iraqi insurgent. He once told a military investigator that he doesn't, quote, shoot people with Qurans, but I'd like to.
Wait a minute. Did Kyle just say something that we can refute literally by just showing footage of the actual interview? Thanks, Kyle.
One of the things that you've accomplished, you are an incredible sniper, and the longest target that you hit in combat was, and I was thinking about this today, 2,100 yards away, which is 21 football fields away.
Yes, sir.
That I can't even understand making a shot from that distance.
I can't either.
It was an accident, wasn't it?
It was an accident.
You dropped your rifle.
I set it up, I accidentally pulled the trigger, and the guy went down.
But I mean, this is something where you're in battle, and the technology behind it. First of all, the weapons themselves are incredible, but there's a lot of calculating wind. There's actual computers involved.
Oh, there are. I mean, our optics and everything are so much more advanced than the guys had in even Vietnam.
Right.
Which you got Carlos Hathcock, who I think is the greatest sniper of all time. I have more kills, but that doesn't mean I'm better than he is. I was just put in a position where I had more opportunities. But yeah, and I definitely cheated. I used ballistic computer that tells me everything to do, so I'm just a monkey on a gun.
Okay, well, I wouldn't go that far, but...
See? Clearly nothing more than simple fun. Already talking about a shot that he made that was near impossible.
And then the fourth thing, they say, quote, "The real Chris Kyle made up a story about killing dozens of people in post-Katrina New Orleans. He claimed that he killed 30 people in the chaos of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, a story the Louisiana press calls preposterous." Now, this one I want to zero in on real quick to try to shed some more light on it. So he was bragging about that. He bragged about shooting looters in post-Katrina New Orleans.
Do you remember years ago there was a storm in New Orleans?
Hurricane Katrina?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it.
Okay, check this out. What do you think those people are doing? Surviving or looting?
They're surviving.
Okay. Do you remember a man named Rodney King?
Yes, of course I
Okay,
do.
the LAPD worked him over really good.
Yes.
Okay. This was taken during the Rodney King riots. What do you think these people are doing? Looting or surviving?
Well, they're looting.
Of course. Well, it's the media, see? When it's white people, it's survival, and when it's black people, it's looting.
No, Frank, it's because the white people are stealing bread and the black people are stealing speakers. If the white people were stealing stereo equipment, I would say they were looting too.
How do you know the blacks don't have bread and no speakers?
What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
What are we talking
Wait,
about
listen,
right now? There are big
listen,
things to do.
Okay, calm down. Well, this is a...
I don't know what's worse, if the story's true or if the story's false. If it's false, which I believe it is, because there's no evidence for it whatsoever, and the Louisiana press was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If that is the case, he's just a liar. And you have to question everything that comes out of his mouth and everything about his story from then on out.
Just before we move on, I'd like to let you know that the website he's using this from doesn't show a single citation anywhere.
If it's true, the dude is a cold-blooded murderer. I mean, the penalty for looting at a time...
Gentlemen, I think it's that time once again.
Number 5. The real Chris Kyle fabricated a story about killing 2 men who tried to carjack him in Texas. Kyle told numerous people a story...
And still no evidence.
another completely made-up story. Number 6, quote, Chris Kyle was successfully sued for lying about the former governor of Minnesota. Kyle alleged that former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura defamed Navy SEALs and got into a fight with him at a local bar. Ventura successfully sued Kyle for the passage in his book. A jury awarded him $1.845 million. Now, understand, he died in the middle of the lawsuit, so Ventura did something which was largely viewed as controversial, understandably so, in that he continued the suit and sued his wife and said, look, I don't care. If you're making money off that and it's a lie, it's going to come to me because you defamed me. You're not allowed to do that. You know, that's libel, that's slander, that's just not okay, right? So you can argue, well, look, leave the poor woman alone. I mean, she didn't necessarily do it, but she was making money off of it. And, of course, he originally sued him, and he won. He won. So there's absolutely no evidence of it whatsoever. Didn't happen. So the guy is an absolute liar. And then here, another one of the worst ones, number 7, quote, Chris Kyle's family claimed he donated his book proceeds to veterans charities, but he kept most of the profits. The National Review debunks the claim that all proceeds of his book went to veterans charities. Around 2%, $52,000, went to charities, while the Kyles pocketed $3 million.
So, the Kyles lose their father, their mother, who doesn't work, at least not yet, gets sued by Jesse Cuck Ventura, and they choose to do with the profits that they have the right to what they want.
So they're out there bragging about how they're giving to veterans charities and, oh, the proceeds for the book, only 2% of it. Look, man, the guy's a scumbag. If you bought into the...
Shit, son, I'm running out of fan service because of you. Take it easy. Take it back a little bit with your stupidity.
Now, in conclusion, real quick, I'll say that he also said in his own book, he admitted that there shouldn't be any rules of engagement in war, and he said he didn't abide by them, and his buddies didn't abide by them, and he said he essentially killed any male between the ages of 16 and 65.
I have read the book all the way through, and I own it. Citation needed. It's not in there, you freaking idiot.
That's a war criminal, ladies and gentlemen. And he, of course, was part of the infamous Fallujah incident in 2004. And that's where American snipers killed untold numbers of civilians.
Hey, Kyle, quick question. Remember when I mentioned the butcher? That dude? Yeah, that's him. The guy with the drill. That dude right there, with the kid. Yeah, that's the person Chris Kyle was trying to fight. Mustafa's on the other side, and remember, he's a mercenary. You're wondering why someone would be so willing to fight people like this. Really. Watch this. Watch what happens next. I dare you. Tell me that this is a humane person that deserves to live. Tell me that Chris was unjustified shooting this guy. Because that's who he was hunting. He was hunting Zarqawi's top man. Oh yeah, just beautiful glamour shot. You know, Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Right? Allahu Akbar! Why not, right? I mean, this is what you're justifying, Kyle. Or should I call you Kucklinski? Listen, Kucklinski, you are... this is what you're justifying. Yeah. And this has all been checked by national sources, including USA Today, to be factual. And that's what he told people. Yeah, Kyle, that's what you're justifying. Good job.
So
well,
understand,
since nothing important's been saying, I kind of ran out of fan service. I'm just kidding. I'm just saving a little bit more for later. But since Kyle's going to keep brabbing on about absolutely nothing and nobody cares, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys. I've been Arceus.
He's not a hero. He's a war criminal.